I was born Serena Jamaica Williams on September 26, 1981, in Saginaw, Michigan. When I say that today, it sounds simple, almost ordinary. But the truth is, from day one, my life was never ordinary. I didn't know that yet, of course. I was just a baby, the youngest of 5 girls, arriving in a world that demanded strength before I even learned to walk. My parents, Richard Williams and Oracene Price, had already lived a lot before I was born. My dad was determined, driven, and my mom was steady and loving, with a quiet spirituality that guided everything. They already had 4 daughters when I arrived: Yatunde, Lindria, Aisha, and right above me, Venus. It was with Venus that my destiny began to intertwine in a way that neither I, nor she, nor anyone else could have imagined. I don't remember Michigan. When my first memories started forming, we were already in Compton, California, and Compton wasn't an easy place. I grew up hearing sirens, seeing graffiti-covered walls, learning early on that the world could be harsh. But I also learned that dreams could be born in the most unlikely places. It was in Compton that my dad had the vision. He saw a tennis match on TV before I was even born. I remember him telling this story so many times it became a part of me. He said he saw a player winning a huge prize check and thought, "My daughters can do this. My daughters will do this." At that moment, he knew nothing about tennis. Nothing. But that never stopped him. He bought books, watched videos, studied every move. And when Venus and I were still little, he took us to the neighborhood public courts. Cracked courts, sagging nets, worn-out ground. That was where it all started. I must have been 3 or 4 years old when I held a racket for the first time. It was way too heavy for my small hands. I complained, "Dad, it's heavy." And he answered, serious, but with that gleam in his eyes, "You're gonna get strong." Training wasn't optional. Rain or shine, with the sound of gunshots in the distance or not, we went to the court. 2, 3 hours a day, sometimes more. My dad believed that discipline was love, and, as tough as it was, he never let us forget that we were special. Venus was always different. Taller, older, naturally more graceful. I watched her. I copied everything. The way she served, the way she ran, even the way she breathed before hitting the ball. I lost to her a lot, and it made me furious. "That's not fair," I'd say, crying. She would smile and reply, "Then train harder." And I did. My mom was the balance. When I came home exhausted, frustrated, wanting to quit, she was the one who held me. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone, Serena," she'd say. But deep down, I wanted to prove it to the world, to myself. Our routine was intense. School in the morning, practice in the afternoon, more practice at night. While other kids played, I hit balls against the wall. While others slept, I daydreamed about huge courts, packed stadiums, my name being announced. But the world didn't welcome us with open arms. From early on, I felt the weight of prejudice. We were black girls, coming from Compton, entering a traditionally white elitist sport. Side eyes, whispered comments, explicit doubts. "These girls won't last. This is no place for them." I heard it, and I stored it all away. My dad saw it too, and he decided to protect us in his own way. When he realized the junior circuit was toxic, full of pressure and exploitation, he made a radical decision. He pulled us out of competitions for a while. "You're gonna be kids," he said. At the time, I didn't get it. Today, I'm grateful. During that period, we kept training, but without the obsession of tournaments. I learned to love the game, not just winning. I learned to lose too, even though I hated every second of it. When I went back to competing as a teenager, I was different, stronger, more confident, more aware of who I was. My professional debut happened in 1995. I was just 14. I stepped onto the court without fear, even facing much more experienced players. I didn't win everything, far from it. But I won something more important, the certainty that I belonged there. I clearly remember a conversation with my dad after a tough loss. I was sitting there, head down, tears hitting the floor. "Dad, what if I'm not good enough?" He crouched down in front of me, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "You already are. The rest is just time." Venus started to shine first. The world talked about her. The cameras followed her. And as much as I loved her, that stung a little. I wanted my space, my voice, my story. And so, bit by bit, I started writing that story with my own hands. My style was different, more aggressive, more powerful. I hit hard. I ran faster. I screamed when I needed to. I didn't apologize for being intense, and that bothered a lot of people. "She's too strong. She's not feminine enough. She's arrogant." Every criticism became fuel. I remembered the little girl in Compton, holding a racket that was too heavy, hearing shots in the distance, dreaming of a future no one believed was possible. I played for her, always for her. When I entered the professional circuit for real, I realized it wasn't just about tennis. It was about representing something bigger. Black girls saw me and said, "If she can do it, I can do it." That gave me strength, but also responsibility. By the end of the 90s, I wasn't just Venus's sister anymore. I was Serena, with my own game, my own attitude, my own hunger for victory. I hadn't conquered everything yet. Actually, I was just getting started, but something inside me already knew. My story wouldn't be small. It would be giant, intense, full of falls, comebacks, pain, and glory. And that was just the beginning. When I look back, I realize my real entry into the pro circuit didn't happen all at once. It was a process, a slow build, full of stumbles, lessons, and moments where I had to decide who I wanted to be in that world. I didn't just want to play tennis, I wanted to change the game. In the late 90s, I started feeling something shift. My body was stronger, my mind sharper. I wasn't stepping onto the court just to compete anymore. I was stepping in to win. Every match was a silent statement. I belong here. In 1998, I started turning heads for real. I won big matches, faced top-ranked players, and for the first time, I saw their look change. It wasn't condescension anymore. It was respect. Or maybe fear. I remember walking into a locker room after a big win and hearing someone whisper, "She's not going away. She's real." That stuck in my head. But that was also when I started to understand the price of being who I was. I didn't fit the expected mold. I wasn't quiet, delicate, discreet. I screamed. I celebrated, I showed emotion, and that was uncomfortable for people. There were matches where the crowd clearly cheered against me. I felt it in my bones. Every mistake I made was cheered. Every point I won was met with silence. At first, that hurt. Later, it became fuel. In 1999, everything changed. I arrived at the US Open as an underdog. Few people believed I could go far. I believed. I felt something different, a strange calm mixed with fire. Match after match, I advanced. Every win seemed to peel away a layer of the world's doubt. When I reached the final, I realized I wasn't a promise anymore. I was a threat. In that final, I walked onto the court thinking about my family. I thought about Venus, our childhood, the endless practices. I thought about my mom, always steady. I thought about my dad, who said before I was even born that I'd be a champion. When the last ball landed on the other side of the net and I realized I had won, the world seemed to stop. I was 17, Grand Slam champion, my first. I dropped to my knees. I cried. I laughed. I screamed. All at the same time. In the post-match interview, someone asked me what it was like to be so young and already a champion. I answered without thinking too much. I've been working for this my whole life, and it was true. From then on, my life was never the same. The attention grew, the expectations too. Every loss started getting questioned. Every win minimized. She's too strong. She only wins because of her power. This won't last. But I knew my game was more than strength. It was intelligence, reading the game, adaptation. It was heart. Venus and I started facing each other more often, and that was weird, painful sometimes. We loved each other, but we wanted to win. Every match between us was an internal conflict. Before one of those games, I told her, "No matter what happens out there, you're my sister first." She smiled and replied, "But out there, I want to win." And I did too. The world tried to create rivalry, drama, division. But the truth is, we made each other stronger. If Venus raised her level, I raised mine. If I evolved, she came right after. In the early 2000s, I started to understand what it meant to be at the top. It wasn't just winning, it was sustaining it. It was dealing with pressure, criticism, unrealistic expectations. There were moments when my body started to push back. Injuries appeared, pains I had never felt before. For the first time, I felt afraid I couldn't keep going. After a tough loss, I sat alone in the locker room and thought, is this worth it? The answer came fast. It always did. Yes, it was. In 2002 and 2003, I lived one of the most intense periods of my career. I won major titles, including all the Grand Slams consecutively, something few players had achieved. That became known as the Serena Slam. But along with the victories came the controversies. There were games where I felt I wasn't treated fairly, questionable calls, unnecessary comments. In a sport that always sold itself as elegant and fair, I saw the ugly side come out. On one specific occasion, I left the court with a heavy heart. It wasn't just about losing. It was about feeling that my voice didn't matter, that my place was still being questioned. At home, I talked to my mom. "Mom, sometimes it feels like no matter how much I win, it doesn't matter." She held my hand and said, "Then win even more and speak up. Don't be silent." I didn't stay silent. I came to understand that my presence on the court was political, even if I didn't want it to be. Every victory of mine was an affront to a system that didn't expect me to be there. I also faced criticism about my body. They said I was too big, too muscular, too masculine. I looked in the mirror and saw strength. I saw power. I saw pride. I learned to love my body the way it was. I learned not to apologize for taking up space. In the middle of all this, there was still joy, simple moments, laughing with Venus in the hotel room, eating junk food after a long match, calling home and hearing my mom's voice. I was still young, but I already felt the weight of a whole career. There were matches I played hurt, others I played angry, some I played scared, but I always played with truth. When I finished that initial phase of my career, I knew I wasn't just a precocious champion anymore. I was an established force, a player who had changed the standard of the women's game. But what I didn't know yet was how much life was about to test me off the court, in ways no practice could prepare me for. Victories would come, many. But so would losses, deep pains, unexpected breaks, and unlikely rebirths. And that is the part of the story that shaped who I am the most. Life has a funny way of reminding us we're human, even when the world sees us as invincible. I learned that the hard way. Up until that moment, almost everything I had lost was related to games, titles, or expectations. I didn't know yet what it was like to lose someone for real. In 2003, my life changed forever. My oldest sister, Yetunde, was murdered. She wasn't on a court. She wasn't competing. She was just living, trying to protect someone she loved. And suddenly, she was gone. When I got the news, my body just shut down. I didn't cry immediately. I didn't scream. I didn't speak. I stayed silent. A heavy, crushing silence that seemed to take up all the space around me. I remember sitting on the bedroom floor, hugging my knees, repeating to myself, this can't be real. But it was. Yetunde had always been a strong figure for me. She cared. She advised. She defended. Losing her was like losing a piece of my foundation, and nothing, no title, no trophy, no applause, could fill that void. For a while, I kept playing. I tried, but something inside me was broken. I'd step onto the court and feel like my body was there, but my soul wasn't. Tennis, which had always been my refuge, turned into a constant reminder of everything that hurt. I started losing matches I would have won before, not for a lack of talent, but for a lack of presence. My mind was far away. My heart was grieving. People talked. They always do. She lost focus. She's not the same anymore. Maybe she's past her prime. Nobody knew what I was carrying onto the court with me. I decided to stop, step away, breathe. For the first time, I allowed the pain to exist without trying to beat it. During that time, I gained weight. My body changed. My routine disappeared. And along with that came another kind of criticism. She's out of shape. She lost her discipline. I tried to ignore it, but it hurt. Because, on top of everything, I was also trying to recognize myself again. Staying away from tennis made me face questions I had always avoided. Who was I without the racket? What moved me beyond the victories? I came back slowly. No rush. No promises, just the will to do it. But the return wasn't easy. Injuries started popping up more frequently. Knee, back, ankle. My body, which had always responded well to extreme effort, was now paying the price for years of maximum demand. There were days I'd wake up and think, maybe it's time to stop. But something inside me refused to accept that ending. In 2007, I lived something many called improbable. I was ranked outside the top 50. I arrived at the Australian Open without favorite status, without big external expectations. But inside, I felt something old coming back, a flame. Every match was a battle, against my opponents, against my body, against the doubts. When I reached the final and won, I realized that wasn't just a title, it was an answer. I was still there. From then on, my career entered a new phase. I wasn't the angry young girl trying to prove something anymore. I was a woman who knew pain, loss, fear, and that made me more dangerous. But life still had more tests prepared. In 2010, I suffered a serious foot injury. I needed surgery. During recovery, I faced something even more terrifying, a pulmonary embolism, blood clots in my lungs. I nearly died. I remember being in the hospital, hooked up to machines, listening to doctors speak in technical terms while I thought, is this how it ends? I felt short of breath. Fear. A pure, raw fear, different from any defeat on the court. In that moment, tennis seemed small. Titles didn't matter. Rankings didn't matter. All I wanted was to live. Recovery was long, painful, physically and emotionally. There were days when walking was a challenge, running seemed impossible, playing a distant dream. People doubted again. She's not coming back. Her body can't take it anymore. I didn't answer. I kept it all inside. When I came back, it wasn't triumphant. It was gradual. Every win was celebrated as if it were a grand slam. Every loss accepted as part of the process. And then, against all odds, I returned to the top. I won again. I dominated again. Not like before, but in a different way. More conscious, more strategic, more human. I came to understand that my career didn't need to be perfect to be extraordinary. I also started using my voice off the court. I spoke about racism, inequality, motherhood, mental health. I understood that my impact wasn't just in what I won, but in what I represented. There were moments of controversy, arguments with umpires, fines, severe criticism. Some said I was overreacting. Others, that I was just demanding respect. I knew who I was. I knew where I came from. And I knew that women, especially Black women, always pay a higher price for expressing emotion. I kept playing, kept fighting, kept coming back. Every return was a silent message. It's not over yet. But deep down, something was shifting again. I felt it. My body felt it. My heart, too. I had already won almost everything, but life was still saving a completely new chapter for me, one that would change my priorities, my fears, and my definition of victory, something no trophy could surpass. And that was when I became a mother. I never imagined something could completely change how I viewed the world more than tennis. For decades, everything in my life revolved around winning, competing, pushing limits. I believed I had already felt every emotion possible. I was wrong. When I got pregnant, I felt fear of losing my spot, fear of not being able to come back, fear of letting people down, and mostly myself. For the first time, my body wasn't just mine, it was sheltering a life. My daughter was born in 2017, Olympia. Just saying her name, something moves inside me. Nothing prepared me for that love. Nothing. No Grand Slam final, no lifted trophy, no packed stadium. But motherhood also came with the scariest moment of my life. After giving birth, I faced serious complications, blood clots, surgeries, pain, constant fear. There were moments I truly thought I wouldn't survive. I looked at my newborn daughter and thought, I need to stay here. I need to live. I survived. But I came back different. When I announced I would try to return to the pro circuit, a lot of people doubted. She's already won everything. She's a mom now. It's over. The body won't respond. I had heard this before, many times. But this time, it was different. I wasn't fighting just for me. I was fighting to show my daughter that dreams don't end when life changes. They transform. Coming back wasn't easy. Training with a body that had been through all that demanded patience. I felt new pains, new limits. But I also felt a strength I had never known. I made it into Grand Slam finals again. I was close. Very close. Sometimes I lost, and every loss came with cruel headlines. She can't do it anymore. Something's missing. Maybe something was missing. Maybe I wasn't the same Serena as before, but that didn't mean I was any less. Every time I stepped onto the court after motherhood, I already felt victorious because I was there, alive, present, fighting. In 2018 and 2019, I lived intense moments, big games, big controversies. In one final, I raised my voice. I asked for respect. I demanded equality. I was criticized, fined, judged, but I didn't regret it. I knew that argument wasn't just about me. It was about all women who, when they take a stand, are labeled difficult. About all Black women who are seen as aggressive when they are just defending themselves. I thought about my daughter, about the world she would grow up in, and I understood that my role there was bigger than winning or losing. Over time, I started feeling my relationship with tennis changing. There wasn't that absolute obsession anymore. There was love, yes. But there was also tiredness, a desire to explore other sides of myself. Entrepreneurship, creating, investing, telling stories, being a present mom. When I finally announced I was stepping away from professional competition, I didn't call it retirement. I called it evolution, because I wasn't leaving something behind. I was moving forward. I looked at my career and saw impressive numbers, titles, weeks at #1, broken records. But what made me proudest wasn't in the stats. It was knowing I changed the game. Black girls started seeing themselves represented. The body standard in the sport changed. The way women's tennis is played changed. The conversation about motherhood, health, equal pay, everything changed a little. I never wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be real. I was intense, I was emotional, I was strong, I was vulnerable, I was all of that at the same time, and I paid the price for every single one of those things. Today, when I look back, I see the girl from Compton holding a racket way too heavy. I see the doubted teenager. I see the champion. I see the grieving sister. I see the hospitalized woman fighting to breathe. I see the mother holding her daughter for the first time. All of them are me. My story was never just about tennis. It was about resilience, about identity, about taking up space where they said I didn't belong. If there is anything I hope people take from my story, it's this. You don't need to fit in to win. You can be who you are and still be extraordinary. This was my life, my fight, my voice. And if this story touched you in any way, I have a simple request for you. Hit the like button on this video because it helps this message reach more people. Subscribe to the channel to keep hearing real stories of overcoming, courage, and transformation. And before you leave, watch the next video appearing on the screen right now. Maybe it brings exactly the inspiration you need today. Thank you for listening to my story. The fight continues.